Yamaha A-S1200 is one smooth operator. Hey, welcome back to the Thrift Shop. Today, we have the Yamaha A-S1200. So, this is going to be an amplifier that you absolutely love or you hate. That's right, you're either going to love or hate this. This thing is packed full of features. This is going to take a while, so bear with me. We're going to go over the front view here, understand what we do and don't have. Obviously, we've got a power button right here. I love when you turn this on and the clicking that happens. It's a whole bunch of rapid relays, not just one click. It's like a... Ready? Hopefully you heard that. You can see there, view meters came on. We'll talk about those in a second. So you have a phono input, or a headphone jack on here. So a 1/4 inch, 6.35 millimeter. And we're going to talk about this because this is something really special. Speakers, you have either A, B, or AB by wiring and off. And this is pretty cool. So right now I've obviously got music playing, VU meters are going. Got the speakers off. You have your VU meter. So you can turn this all off. You can go to peak. So if you're ever curious on how much wattage you're actually using, real VU meters are great. You can see right now this is pinging between 10 and 100. So you can see the kind of dynamic swings that you're getting between 10 and 100 watts. Pretty cool. If you're ever wondering, you know, the test tone output and how much wattage you're actually using, pretty helpful. At least it gets you to understand how much power you're actually using and to what SPL levels you're running. And if you go to the VU meters in RMS, kind of see how much wattage you're running in RMS. So pretty good kind of check. Anyways, VU meters are just cool. Put that back on peak just because we like to see them dance a little more. You do get tone controls here. And there is a relay that clicks that goes into direct sound mode. And this is a floating amplifier. You can go read about it. I'm not going to talk about all the details, but this is pretty cool tech. So as soon as you take any one of either the treble or the bass out, you'll hear a click and relay, and that engages the tone controls. And you'll see that I had those in about that position when I started, and we'll talk about that when we get to the sound. You have balance controls. It's pretty cool. So you can see here, turn one down, one up. Nice little touch. On the input side, so we have CD, tuner, phono. So it's a built-in MC phono and an M moving magnet phono preamplifier. You have line 1, line 2, and main direct. Main direct is like a home theater bypass. So this, you can run this as a power amp. We're definitely going to talk about this. Volume knob, pretty smooth, pretty cool. See the VU meters reacting to that. I do believe this is a 90 watt per channel amplifier, and definitely feels a little bit more powerful than that, but it's tough to say. And we do have mute, which is really cool because it doesn't just take the sound away. It actually slowly fades out to like a minus 20 dB loss. So let's start there. See it go down. So you have a little bit of music coming out and then come back in. That's really cool. That's something I haven't seen on an amplifier before, and it's really good. Now, why am I reviewing this on my channel? Well, this is a thrift shop. So yeah, it's been out for 2.5 years. You can find these used. You can find them open box. You can find them whatever for about 50% off to maybe 65% off right now. So I got this for $1,500. This retails for $3,000. And it was acceptable in Amazon warehouse. See here, corner's been knocked. Yeah, might be able to fix that, but tough to say. It's bent in pretty bad right here. Other corners been bent in. Volume knob wiggles a little bit. I've already fixed this once, and there's a nut behind there that needs to be tightened, and it can fix it. And we're gonna go behind and check it out. All right, looking at the back tour of the Yamaha A-S1200 integrated amplifier. So yeah, I have to say, this is one of the best rear panels of an amplifier that I've seen. Nicely done, nicely laid out. Probably the best speaker binding post that I've ever seen. Gold plated, run spades, banana plugs. You can buy wire, buy amp with this. Really nice setup here. I love it that they're both separated on each side. That way you don't have speaker cables all gathered one and spaghetti meat sauce going everywhere, whatever. Anyways, so you got your tuner input, CD input, line 1. You have line 2 out, line 2 in, so you can do a tape with this. You have preamp out, main in to run as a power amplifier. Phono down here. You got your ground screw here. You got your moving magnet, moving coil. Auto power standby, you have off and on. You have trigger in if you're running other components. You have your remote in and out. You have a service and your IEC plug. There is a remote control. I'll try to get some pictures of that and throw it up there. It's nothing special. As far as a $3,000 amplifier, it's nothing special, which is not uncommon for some of these types of manufacturers. They're not boutique like, you know, Kinky Studio and some of the other Chinese manufacturers or the other, you know, European high-end manufacturers who are, you know, machining out of complete chunks of metal and making really nice remotes. But anyways, I don't use a remote much. I get up and move around, usually playing my records, so you have to get up and, you know, adjust things anyways. Let's go talk about sound. All right, let's talk about how this thing sounds. You know, when you get used to a certain amplifier and you try something new, sometimes things just don't catch you. And this is one that didn't catch me. So I started this in my main system, listening to my Zoo Omen bookshelf speakers that are, you know, have a higher impedance, high sensitivity though, and it just sounded flat. Albeit, you know, I had these just main direct, you know, no tone controls. I usually prefer it that way. And just listening to a kind of vintage, higher end Sony CD player, SA CD player. I was running CDs at the time, running Elton John's self-titled album, and which I absolutely love, and just sounded flat, drab. Now I was not playing with any tone controls. I was just playing it. So then I went over and listened to the same album in the SACD, Elton John self-titled album. And yeah, I started to come to life. So this thing really likes a little more detail. Maybe it's made for, you know, kind of DSD. I'm not sure. But anyways, yeah, and that was coming directly out. So no DAC in line. The DAC is built into the older SACD player. So not the IS-10 thing, but just kind of something I like in my system. And I just didn't like it. So immediately it came down to my kind of reference listening area, which right above I have the Musical Fidelity M3SI, which is a sound that I really like and have fallen in love with. So the reason I say this may or may not be for you is this is a purely Japanese sound. It's not a British sound. It's not a Swiss sound. It's not an American sound. It is distinctly Japanese. Kind of an Asian quality of smoothness over texture, detail, soundstage layering. So, you know, overall, you got to be very careful if this is going to be something that you like or don't like, or what you're going to pair it with, because maybe you have speakers that, you know, has some really high, you know, high-end treble, boosted a little bit in the treble, somewhere where you can tone that down and just smooth it down. That may be a good combination. But for what I was running, which is, again, the Zoo Omen bookshelves, vintage HPM, Pioneer HPM 100s, and a JBL Studio 590s. And I finally figured this thing out, and it took a long time. As an integrated amplifier, it is, as I mentioned, very, very smooth. So it's gonna glaze right over textures in music. So if you're getting a DAC to get more detail, more resolution, if you're going up the chain, yes, this will give you a smidge of that, but it's not gonna give you a ton of detail, a ton of texture. It's gonna wanna smooth over and make it feel a little more relaxed. Now, as you can see, I had the tone controls here, boosted a little bit because that gave me more of a sound pleasure that I liked, although the sound stage was not as great. Starting with the bass, again, you can see here I had to move it up a little bit. It is somewhat more of a neutral sound, and I do like the British sound a little more. And it's tough to say, sub bass, bass, mid bass. For me, British sound has a little bit more mid bass impact. Snare drums just come to life, the clarity in that region. You can get kind of the textures after the drum hit. This glides right over that. You're not going to get any of that. I feel that there's definitely a mid focus, vocals just come to life. So if you like acoustic music and you don't want the texture of the strings and the decay of the strings, but you want the vocals to be front and center, this is for you. Absolutely great. If maybe you have an older collection of records and not mixed well, this will smooth over a lot of that graininess. So it could be a really good benefit for, depending on what you're listening to, what kind of music you like, and how you like the presentation. Now, going back to the comparison, getting into the treble, this is more subdued. I had to increase the treble to give me a little more detail and resolution. I wish it still had kind of, the mid, vocal kind of range that you could bump or bring down. I think that might have made this a lot better. But definitely, the British sound has a little more emphasis in the treble. Upper mid-range kind of hump in the British sound in the Musical Fidelity M3SI, which gives you excellent clarity. There's like humps and dips in the frequency response that really, really, it gives you an exciting listen, a more lively listen, where this is going to be more of a smooth listen. It's definitely not a vintage, lush, super warm amplifier. That is not it. Slightly warm, very neutral, and yes, you can adjust it. So for $3,000, very good amplifier. I mean, this thing is a monster. It weighs 48.5 pounds. And I gotta say, most of that's in the transformer, toroidal transformer right in the front, right behind these view meters, because it just feels front heavy when you lift it up. Anyways, as far as build quality of this thing, great anodized aluminum face. Probably the best rear panel that I've ever seen. The sides are like kind of a piano gloss, painted surface, which I think that's out these days. But you can, if you want DIY, put your own, wood panels on. My only criticism is the top plate here. It's just kind of sheet metal. I think we're $3,000 when you're getting into some of the competing Japanese amps that have, milled aluminum and things like that. That would just been a fine, a better touch. And maybe, some of the higher end ones have it, the 2200 or 3200, I'm not sure. But definitely, great song, or great amplifier. Some of the songs, just to put this in perspective, so listening to Chris Cornell's, I think it's Songbook, which is him live acoustic, which I absolutely love Chris Cornell. And I wasn't getting the textures from his voice. I could hear a little bit of the raspiness, but it was kind of glazing over that. And, but the vocals were so far forward and presented that it's fun. It's fun. It's lively. If you love vocal music, absolutely great. To the flip side, listening to Tool, Fear Inoculum, Calling Voices, is a very, how do I describe it? The song is a play on dynamic range, and it starts off extremely light with extremely light guitar picks, gradually building into a kind of a full heavy on metal kind of a sound. And you may, depending on your stereo, and I found it with this, if you're listening to this, you'll see that, especially that specific song, Calling Voices, that you have to crank up the volume just to hear the guitar strings in the beginning. I mean, it's like they're not even there. And then when everything hits, it's so loud that it's just blowing out your system. So, you know, it's pushing guitars and other instruments pretty far back, the vocals pretty far forward, and it's smoothing over a lot. So, yeah, for me, it's not perfect. It's not for all the types of genres of music that I listen to. If I were only listening to vocals, absolutely. But that's not where this ends. So, running this as, you can see I still have it connected up. Running this as a power amp, I can see that everything that happens with this amp is right in the preamp section. The power amp is as clean, as neutral, as linear as anything I've ever played with before. And right now I'm using the Musical M3 SI as a preamp. I also use the i5 Pro iCan, which I still to this day have not found a preamp that's better than the i5 Pro iCan. It's a headphone amp with pre-outs. It has tube mode, you know, has solid state tube plus mode. You can play around. The tube mode on that preamp section is one of the best I've ever heard. The best. And I've upgraded the tubes. But my God, playing i5 Pro Can into this is better than the Musical Fidelity M3 SI. M3 SI as a preamp into this, yeah, not as good. So I'll just try to show you a quick little picture of that. Here's the M3 SI right now. And I am running the world's best streamer into this. And there's the i5 Pro iCan up there. So right now the Music Fidelity is playing into the Yamaha. And so if you buy this amp, you can just use this amp as a power amp. You know, maybe get this, run this, you know, as much as you want. Get a preamp and try to see the sound differences and see what preferences you like. This is a very safe amp because you have tone controls. You can do a lot of adjustment. I would call this a great starter amp, even though it's $3,000 or $1,500 as I got it. But just know, you can get a preamp and really change the sound signature of this amp. And is amazing. And this will go probably the rest of your life. You know, this is one of those things that you have, it's a hand-me-down. You know, 30 years from now, someone's going to be trying to pick this from, you know, somebody else. And it's going to be one of those things that just sticks around, like some of the monster amps, monster receivers of the, you know, late 70s. So, you know, it's a great thing. You just got to know exactly if it's for you or not. I also ran this as a pre-out into the Music Fidelity M3 SI, and again, the same sound signature came. So the weakness is the preamp in here, depending on the music that you like and the genres. For me, it's not the best flavor, but for you, it might be perfect. I have to say, this headphone output. So I've been using these right here. The FIO FT3 350 ohm dynamic driver, 60 millimeter dynamic driver headphones, and I've been in love with this, using tube amps. This might be the best headphone amp that I've heard. And I literally barely had to get the volume adjustment on this. I mean, there was so much power for 350 ohms that I couldn't believe it. Layering and separation on headphones. I was doing the chocolate chip trip from Tool, and oh my God, I've not heard something like that from any of my headphone amps, not even the i5 Pro iCan. I haven't heard it from a tube amp. I haven't heard it from DACs. I have not heard it from anything. The amount of layering and separation that I get from this is astonishing. I'm dumbfounded. I never thought, I thought I would just do the headphones in, say, hey, you know, I did these headphones, it works, plays good. No, this is the magic. The beauty is also, once you plug your headphones in, if you have the speakers on, they automatically shut off. Even if you have it on A or B, automatically shuts off and goes to phono. You hear a click, there's relays inside that click on and off. Boom, you're safe. You pull it out, same thing. It gives a delay, a little click, boom, you're back into your speakers playing. So very nice. Unless you do want to play music and out of your speakers and headphone, well, that would be a downside. But for me, this thing is amazing what it do. Swiss Army knife, very versatile. I almost forgot, we didn't talk about phono. I love vinyl. And this is a digital switch, it just keeps rotating. Phono, you have moving magnet and moving coil. And I forgot to talk about it. So right now we're gonna hit on that. All right, without further ado, I started off with the Riga Anya on a Rieger Planar 1. MC setting in the back, which I've already shown you. And I was listening to Led Zeppelin's self-titled first album. And that's pretty grainy, pretty treble-ish kind of album. And yeah, it came off that way. Very, very much a different sound signature than the amp I talked about, which is very smooth, more neutralish, not a lot of treble. I still had this in this kind of bypass mode. And yeah, I was, you know, I listened to one side of the album and, you know, I had a little bit of listening fatigue and wasn't the best. So when I brought it down to this system, listening to the Technics 1210 GR, I was running the Sumiko Songbird and also the Nagoka MP300. And, you know, it fared better, I think, on moving magnet. Actually, I like the sound signature of this amp running moving magnet cartridges. Sumiko Songbird was the best. Very quiet, very dark background. And honestly, I could live with this phono preamp and moving magnet. Definitely not moving coil with the Riga Anya, and I didn't test any other moving coil cartridges. But with the Sumiko Songbird, I could live with it. Definitely gets a different sound signature, a little more treble focused, and which you can tone back with the tone controls. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily have to go for my i-Fi, you know, iPhone 02 or any other phono preamp. I would just live with what's inside of here. So I forgot that. I wanted to add that in a little note. All right, back to the review. Again, you have to know if you like this sound presentation for you, even though you know you can upgrade it through the preamp. Hey, I hope you like this video. As much as I like music, I hope you like watching. Someday I'll be back to, you know, talking head stuff. Please go down here, hit the like, subscribe. You know, I used to be a lurker on here. You know, I would go get advice from people on how to fix my car, what stereo things I should buy. I was lurking. I was never hitting subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. You know, we're doing this and hopefully, yeah, maybe we can make $5 a month. But, you know, if you're going to watch someone's video, just hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, do something for that person. Even if they just helped you fix your car, you know, maybe you had some button or you need to do your oil change button on your car and you need to figure that out. You know, give that person that did that video a little like, subscribe. Maybe their video is 5 years old. It doesn't matter. Help out whoever was doing that. We appreciate it. And we appreciate you for watching. Thank you. I'll be back with, let's see, the Musical Fidelity M3SI will be coming up. I have a Cambridge amplifier, and I have the Fosse BT20 Pro coming up. So stick around. Talk to you later.